Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first round of the TTML Formula 2 season. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Carmentelis. I'll be taking you through proceedings today. Joining me, as he was in the combots last week for the pre-season race, is Luke Etheridge. Luke, how you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, Kate. Aidan, yourself?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Looking forward to the first round of the season. Obviously, coming into this round off the back of a pretty eventful pre-season race in Australia last time out. It was obviously Honey Badger and Scuba were the two winners last time out in the feature and the sprint race, respectively. Just coming into this event, obviously we've got some drivers in that didn't take part in the pre-season race last week. What are you looking forward to today?
I'm looking forward to see how they cope around Bahrain. Obviously, the sprint race is normally in different weather conditions to what they're normally used to driving in F1. The sprint race taking place in glorious, blazing sunshine, so it'll be interesting to see how the drivers cope. And of course, we didn't have the top two from last year's championship here last week. It was Vic Mill, he was the runner-up, he's driving the Arden, and Blizzard, who won last season, back when it was still TTF2. He's in the Carling, so it'll be interesting to see how those two do because we saw some very good performances from a few drivers last time out.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, there was a number of good performances last time out, notably from Honey Badger Siege. Sorry, Scuba was on the podium last time out as well. So a lot of people could definitely challenge the likes of Blizzard and Vicmo at the front of the field. And like you say, they didn't take part in the preseason race last week, so they're almost on a back foot a little bit coming into this event. They don't necessarily have as much experience with this year's Formula 2 cars as the other drivers around them do. Coming into today, obviously, first round of the championship. After this round, we will head to the next round next week, which I believe will be at. I think it's at Zandvoort next week, I believe, is the second round of the championship. We'll have to double check that a bit later on. But coming into qualifying for today, who do you think is going to take pole position?
To be honest, I'm going to go for the boring option. I think Blizzard's going to hit the ground running straight away and get pole position. I'm not going for anything too surprising there, I don't think. But we saw last week, only about half of the field managed to keep it clean.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Last,
just remembering from last season in Formula 2, obviously Bahrain was the first round of the season last year as well, when Blizzard didn't have the best run at Bahrain last year. I don't think he finished. I think he finished within the top five in the feature race, but didn't have a good sprint race after that. So this may not be the best track for Blizzard.
we'll have to see if he's improved. The handling, some have said it is slightly different in the F2 cars this year, but they are fundamentally still obviously the same cars, so we'll have to see how they do.
Yeah. Meanwhile, for the first qualifying of the season, we're going to be on board with Josh M97 in the MP Motorsport car, heading down towards turn one. He's on the soft tyres then. As he heads into the braking zone, brakes midway between the 150 and the 100-meter board, gets the car nicely stopped on the apex of the corner. Through turn two, doesn't look like much of a difficult corner, but on traction it is very easy to get wrong. Through the turn three kink onto the second DRS straight on the track before we head into turn four. Long corner this is, easy to get on the power too early and spin the car, but Josh looks like he's had a good first sector so far. Up in second, it's Cugino at the moment who's at the top of the field after the first sector, followed by Josh and Blizzard in third place, coming now through the middle part of the lap, the most technical part of the track, into the hairpin. A bit of a lock up on the inside tyre there, but just about gets away with it. Coming now into the difficult turn 9 and 10, so easy to lock up the front left coming into this corner. Does he lock up? He does. And he still makes the apex of the corner quite nicely, actually. So he gets away with that lock-up. He's on a brilliant lap so far into the DRS zone on the back straight, coming down towards turn 11. Quite a long corner this is. Usually, traditionally, fourth gear, maybe down into third to try and get the car turned in. He does go down into second. Actually, goes down into second gear to try and get the car even more turned in. Get through turn 12. Make sure not to hit the apex on the inside. It can spin the car very easily, coming towards the end of the second sector. And it's now at the moment who's on provisional pole by the end of the second sector. Coming out of the corner, doesn't use a lot of the exit curve, doesn't want to invalidate, which is fair enough. Like you said, we saw a lot of that last week in Australia. Coming now into the last two corners, comes into the last proper corner on the track, a little bit of lock up again, but still manages to make the apex quite nicely, coming down the straight. And this has been a brilliant lap on board with Josh. Josh is going to take pole position by the looks of it, and by a comfortable margin in the end, a 37.7 for Josh, half a second clear of the rest of the field.
Yeah, fantastic performance from Josh. It looks like Honey Badger's made a mistake again at the early part of the lap. He's going to be the last person to set a time down in 14th. I have commed on Josh in an F2 league before, and he did manage to get a podium in either the feature or the sprint race at every single round. He's extremely fast in these cars, and he's just proved that again tonight. 4 attempts clear of second place Cugino.
That's brilliant stuff then from Josh. Josh that takes pole position ahead of Coutinho in second in the Trident. The Carlin man of Blizzard takes third position. A good start to his season ahead of Little Roman Nino. He joined midway through last season and had great pace as soon as he jumped in the F2 cars. He continues with that with P4. Siege is in P5 ahead of Z3 in 6th. Scuba in 7th, Graham 8th, Mays 9th, Vic Mill only down in 10th place and 2.1 seconds off pole position. Not the best start to the season for last year's runner-up. Ahead of Conti, Frankie, Legend, Honey Badger down in 14th with another poor qualifying showing. Wesker and Dan Morris, the only two people not to set valid lap times in the end. They will form up the back row of the grid in 15th and 16th place. But coming to at the end of that first qualifying session of the season, obviously other than Josh, who really stood out to you there?
I mean, Coutinho's put in a decent time. Standing out for the wrong reasons. Another mistake on a qualifying lap from Honey Badger. Last time it was in Australia, it was nearly end with the fast chicane at 11 and 12, which blew his lap. This time I went on board with him in the first sector, and he was a long way behind everyone else. So maybe that turn 2, where you said can be a very tricky corner, that might have caught him out. He should be able to work his way up through the field, though. 3 DRS zones here at Bahrain. If there's any track where DRS maybe needs a bit of a nerf and is a bit overpowered, it's probably around here. So he could still make his way up. Wouldn't be surprising to see him end near the sharp end of the grid. Definitely with a great chance of getting in that top 8, that all-important top 8 when it comes to the sprint race.
Absolutely, and we have seen it from Honey Badger before. Obviously, he had a poor qualifying, like you said, in Australia last week, but still managed to come home with a feature race win. A great result last time out. Let's see if he can carry that momentum forward into the first round of the season. But again, it seems like qualifying at the moment is Honey Badger's Achilles heel. He's made a few mistakes in qualifying in other tiers of Formula 1 that I've seen so far. So something that he maybe needs to iron out throughout the season if he wants to have the perfect championship run. But like you say, Bahrain, a great track for overtaking, so this may not be one of the worst tracks to have a bad qualifying out. And we might see something similar from Wesker and Dan Morris. Wesker had a good event last time out in Australia. He was running in the top 5 for most of the feature race before an incident, I believe, but he was holding off the likes of Siege behind him quite well, actually. So maybe you see the same for Wesker, and Dan Morris as well had a relatively a good performance in Australia last time out, so maybe see all 3 of those move forward in this race.
Yeah, it could help if them two just stick on the back of Honey Badger maybe. They might get a chance to move their way up through the field. I think Vic Mill will be disappointed with his qualifying session, only in 10th place. I imagine he'd have been wanting more. Scuba, he was very quick last time out as well, and only 7th, but this is a completely different track.
Yeah.
It's just laid out to Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. A completely different track, much more runoff, a much wider track, and a lot more overtaking opportunities. So we may see so many people at the front of the field. Just looking at tyre strategies then going into the feature race, the top 2 are stuck with the soft tyres. The first person to go for the alternate strategy and start on the medium tyres is CRG Blizzard in 3rd place. So look out for him in the early laps. See if he can hold that P3 place or whether he drops behind some of the soft runners behind him. From Little Roman Nino all the way down to Mays in 9th. They're all running soft tyres. Vicmill and Conti have gone for the mediums. Frankie and Legend on the soft, and then the final 3 drivers on the grid, so Honey Badger, Wesker and Dan Morris, have all gone for the alternate strategy on the mediums. Bahrain, notably, a very difficult track for tyre wear. How do you think the people starting on the soft tyres are going to struggle in the early starts of this race?
I think Josh and Coutinho especially just need to escape at the start, take advantage of the fact that Blizzard has actually been disqualified on this formation lap, so he will have very cold tyres at the start. That might drop him behind a few other cars, but they need to build that gap up. Try and extend the life of the soft tyres as much as possible. We've seen it so many times in Bahrain in feature and sprint races. If you're on the soft tyres at the end of the race, you can be 2, 3, 4 seconds a lap faster than the car in front. So I think it might be difficult for them to hold on to the victory, but we'll have to see what they go for. I'd probably say Blizzard's the favourite just because he's starting on the mediums.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you on that one. Blizzard on the alternate strategy, he's definitely the one to look out for in the early phases of this race to see whether he can keep with the top 2 and see how early the top 2 come in. Remember, everyone has to adhere to the mandatory pit stop rule, and the mandatory pit stop window is lap 3, so any pit stops before lap 3 do not count as your mandatory stop. We are just about ready to go though for the feature race. Wait and see which one of the top 2 drivers is going to get the best launch off the grid. Is it going to be Josh? Is it going to be Coutinho? Which one of these 2 is going to get the best launch? Here come the lights then ahead of the drivers. 5 lights on before the feature race at Bahrain. Really long hold, but the lights are out, and it looks like it's a very even start from the front of the grid. It looks like Siege in 5th. incredible start in the dams. He's already looking to the outside. I think Nino struggled off the line as well. It looks like Z3X has had a good start in the second car. As we come down into turn 1, Coutinho, though, has breezed past Josh on his way down into turn 1, and he is taking the lead ahead of the MP Motorsport car, battling between the two Carlins behind. Blizzard and Z3X are going side by side for third place. A great start for Z3X. Good stuff from Blizzard as well to hold on to third place at the start of this race. Nino couldn't challenge. Siege has now dropped to 7th. Vic Mills up to 8th on the medium tyres. He's had a good start, but the top two are well away already. 1.1 seconds clear of Blizzard in third place, but the dream start for the Trident man further in behind. A lot of battling throughout the field. We got one of the Dams cars off the road, and I think a Univirtuoso was off. I think that was Nino off the road. Scuba's up to 5th. He's had a great start. Oh, Nino really sideways, and they're 3 wide in the bottom hairpin. Vic Mill with a little contact with Siege, but they just about get away with it by the looks of things without damage as well. They continue on, and they stay in the same position as they were going into the corner, so they haven't lost out too much. Honey Badger already up to 10th. He's had another amazing start to this race, and he's looking at the back of Maze for P9. He's down the inside. Can he get the run? Down into turn 11. It looks like he might not be close enough. He tucks back into the slipstream. Does he dive to the inside? He does. Can he get the move stuck on the way into the corner? Maze fights it around the outside. Honey Badger squeezes him right to the outside apex, and Honey Badger is through up into 9th. Great start from him. Just looking further down the field, Conti's had a poor start. He's dropped to the back of the field. He's down in 15th. But coming towards the end of the first lap, the top two well out in front, and an incredibly clean opening lap, would you say?
Yeah, really clean. I did see, I think it was Little Romanino through the S section at 6 and 7, just hop over the gravel but didn't lose any places or gain any. Before the race started in the Discord, Josh did say, does anyone know how to start an F2 car? And unfortunately for him, Coutinho did know but didn't care to share that with his fellow front row starters. He's had a fantastic start to this race, and we're now seeing Little Nino's dropping down the order.
I think that might be a
connection issue.
I think that might be a timing glitch on our end. We've had this timing glitch last time out in Australia. Unfortunately, it will have to lap, I believe, and then it will sort itself. But yeah, Kugini out in front. It looks like he's got nearly a second lead already on Josh. The race pace that Trident man has got, and he's got great race pace. And this need to do yellow flag in sector 1. There's been contact further down the. That looks like it's an ART and, oh, not quite, maybe a Prima maybe at the back of the field. That might be Dan Morris that's gone off the road at the back. It is Dan Morris, and one of the ART cars has gone off with him. That will be Conti then. So 2 medium runners, both with front wing damage after a contact on the exit of turn 2, absolutely ruins their strategies.
Yeah, they've really got no choice now but to just get in next lap, put a set of soft tyres on, try and get them to stretch, and then obviously put the softs on at the end because they'll be a lot quicker. Try and get that fastest lap point. Let's not forget that extra 1 point for fastest lap, and you are guaranteed points throughout the field as long as you finish the race, because we are using a different point system here at TTML this season for the F2, not the normal one. So in the feature race you've got points down to 19th, in the sprint points down to 15th. So as long as they get to the end, don't have any more mistakes, they will be able to finish. But it is severe damage on Conti's car, big front wing damage. Not as much on Morris, but he will feel that, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him pit shortly. And Josh, all importantly, is managing to keep within that 1 second of Coutinho, and they have pulled away from Blizzard, who hasn't dropped down the order like I would have expected him to in those opening laps. I thought once Z3X had got near him, he would have let his teammate by, but no team orders in that Carling team at the moment. Yeah,
it doesn't look like so far Z3X are actually coming under pressure now from Scoop. Wesker having a great battle in the background, fighting over E12 at the moment. Wesker's had a relatively quiet start on those medium tyres, now starting to work his way forward. Z3X are holding off Scuba and Nino. This is great stuff actually for his teammate Blizzard. He's doing a solid job of holding these guys up, but now Scuba to the inside on the soft tyres. Can he get past Z3X and try and break this queue of cars? There's a little bit of a lock up on the inside. Z3X has more momentum around the outside in the Carling car. He's going to nose ahead coming into the corner. He is. So Scuba cannot make the move for P4. Z3X holds on to the place, and all the while this is helping Blizzard in front pull away, who is now actually starting to catch Josh. Josh is 1.7 seconds behind Coutinho. Coutinho's had an incredible start to this race in this Trident car, looking much faster than Josh at the moment. Josh already looking like he's struggling on tyres. Z3X though has now been passed by Scuba, and here comes Nino trying to make the move stick as well. Oh, as I say that, Z3X outbreaks himself in turn 10. Scuba spins around. I don't think they get any damage from that, which is quite lucky, but Z3X has dropped up to 7th. Is he going to drop behind Vic Mill? I think he's safe from Vic Mill for the time being, who is now under pressure from Honey Badger, who's starting to fly through the field as he's in Australia, already up to 9th on the back of Vic Mill for P8. He's flying on these medium tyres, but yeah, Z3X a costly mistake there, and he's dropped behind Nino and Siege because of it.
Yeah, I think he made a mistake through the S's, and that did allow Scuba to get past initially, and maybe just trying to get that place back a bit too feisty. And that looks to have cost him for now. So he's down in 7th. Hopefully he's got his tyre temperature back under control, because that is always a problem in these cars. But next lap or two, he's going to come under a lot of pressure from Vikmel and Honey Badger as well. 8th and 9th for those two. They've had a very decent start to the race. Now, obviously, Vikmel will get DRS to help him defend from Honey Badger, which I'm sure he'll be glad about, because the ART right underneath his rear wing at this moment in the race, and might have a chance of going for the overtake here. They've both got DRS heading down towards turn 1. Honey Badger later on the brakes. He's going to try and dive down the inside. Vikmel will have the inside for the next corner. Let's not forget, they'll both have DRS down the next straight, but I think Honey Badger's just about managed it, because it's...
Honey Badger, as I say that, actually, as you say that, Honey Badger gets caught on the curb on the inside of turn 3, has a massive snap of oversteer. He just about held it. There's contact further up the field. Scuba and Nino fighting for positions, and they've actually come turn 4. Nino made the move stick at turn 1, but now they've come into contact. Scuba's spun fully on the exit of turn 4. I don't know if they've got damage on me. It looks like they've got away with it, but Nino down to 8th, and Scuba all the way down to 14th. That puts Siege now up into 4th. And Z-Fixer back up into 5th place. He's got, though, a queue of cars behind him now. 3 cars following Z-Fixer very closely. Just looking in front of the field as well now. Josh looks like he started to match the pace of Kugino in front. It's staying at 1.8 seconds. And Blizzard starting to fall back a little bit. But the top 3 now, 4 seconds clear of Siege in 4th after a number of mistakes from front-running people.
Yeah, Z-Freaks has just ran wide again at that tricky turn 10. And that has allowed both Vikmel and Honey Badger to get past. Just looking back through the field at the Univirtuosity and the ALTs of Nino and Scuba respectively. I think Nino's got away with it, but Scuba has got big damage to his front wing. Did start on the soft tyres, so won't be the biggest disaster. He'll be able to come in and get those mediums on, but he'll have to be very careful on them in the first few laps to get them to the end. It's really not been a good start for quite a few drivers actually at this moment. But still, Kugino 1.8 seconds ahead of Josh. He's doing a good job. I do think Josh must have made a mistake at the start of lap 3, because he lost about 1 second in the first sector, but he's kept the gap constant since then.
Here comes Honey Badger now down the inside of Vikmil. Vikmil doesn't have DRS on the car in front to defend anymore. Honey Badger breezes past. We're on lap 5 of this race. Honey Badger has come from 14th on the grid all the way up to 5th place. These medium tyres looking very good on Honey Badger's car. Can't wait to see what he can do on the softs. Meanwhile, further down the field, Z3 are battling with Nino, who's trying to come back through after his mistake. Nino down the inside coming up to turn 4, and he's already passed the Carlin man, who's starting to fall through the field after Nino works his way back up into 7th. Gray, meanwhile, in P9. He's had a bit of a lonely race so far, but he's starting to catch these guys now. He's also on the soft tyres, and he's dragging Wesker with him ever so slightly, who is currently running at the bottom end of the top 10 on the medium tyres. Mays has come into the pits. He's got rid of those soft tyres quite early. Dan Morris, meanwhile, after sustaining front wing damage, he's decided to stay out on those medium tyres until he can put the softs on at the end of the race. So he's struggling around the back with front wing damage, but he is quite comfortably ahead of Conti, who's already made 1 pit stop in this race, as has Mays, but they're not in the same race at the moment. Looking at the front of the field, though, end of lap 5, this is probably the best time for the soft runners to come in, do you think?
If I was them, I'd try and stretch it a lot, and maybe another lap. I always like to try and go a bit longer in the first stint, just so you've got the fresher tyres at the end. I know that goes against a lot of the logic, just because of how powerful the undercut can be, but they want to make sure they've got good life at the end of the race, especially for those that are going to be starting on the mediums, moving to the soft tyres. Otherwise, they may just have absolutely no defence of them whatsoever. I mean, you can see now Blizzard got that gap underneath a second. Josh is deciding to come in on this lap then, so he's the first of the front runners to come in for a scheduled pit stop.
Yeah, he comes in. Meanwhile, Blizzard sets the fastest lap of the race of 41.1 on the medium tyres. Now seems to cross over point, but it seems at the moment that Blizzard and Honey Badger are the only real ones starting to get pace out these medium tyres. Nino coming back through the field after his mistake. He now passes Vikmil down the inside before turn 1 with relative ease in the end. Vikmil on the medium tyres, not as confident as some other people around him. He's struggling to get some pace out of those medium tyres. He'll be hoping that the race gets over pretty quickly with, so he can get onto the softs and have the pace at the end of the race, but still struggling for speed on those medium tyres. Not what we're used to seeing from Vikmil, really struggling for pace at the moment.
Yeah, it seems Honey Badger was able to get past him pretty quickly. Let's not forget, he has gained a few places. He gained a couple on the first lap, but a lot of that has been down to incidents from other drivers. We've seen, obviously, now Mays has pitted, and Scuba's dropped a long way down the field. He's pitted as well to get the medium tyres on and change that front wing. But yeah, we'll have to see how Vikmel does in the next couple of laps. He wasn't supreme in qualifying either on the soft tyres. Maybe the handling changes that Codemasters have made to the F2 cars, as Nino up in front of him drifts his way through turn 10. It looks spectacular for the Univirtuosi, but it's definitely not the fastest way through that corner. That promotes Vikmel up into 5th.
Yeah, Nino starting to struggle a little bit then, it seems, with tyre temperature. He's made a couple of these mistakes now, and he drops back behind the Arden man. We'll be likely to see the Univirtuosi into the pits at the end of this lap. But the problem for Univirtuosi at the moment is Franke's also on the soft tyres. Actually, as I say that, Franke himself has also had a moment at turn 10. He looks like he's done something similar to Nino, but hasn't been able to catch the car, and he's spun on the exit of the corner. Josh has made his way through. Josh, after coming out of the pits after his first pit stop, he's 19 seconds behind Graham. He's in some massive clean air he can push in now. Meanwhile, Kugino's into the pits, but picks up a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That could be massive in this race. Had a 2-second advantage over Josh, sorry, coming into this pit stop phase. That could cost Kugino a chance at the win at this point.
Yeah, Z Freaks are also getting a 5-second penalty as well, and Franke has retired.
Oh, he's gone off the road at
race.
He's gone off the road at turn 12 by the looks of things. He's gone really wide and has hit the wall. And have we got a safety car by the looks of things?
I think so, yeah. We've got full track in yellow by the looks of things. So
yeah, virtual safety car. I believe it is a virtual. Just having to see. Yeah, it is a virtual safety car. It's just popped up on my screen now. So a virtual safety car for the first time this season. First one in the race. This could actually, despite the 5-second penalty, this could have helped Kugino, who was still in the pit lane when the virtual safety car came out. So he would have gained a little bit of time on Josh, who would have had to slow down in the pit lane. Same for some people behind as well. Dan Morrison has actually, I believe, jumped Siege in all of this. As you know, Dan Morris hasn't pitted yet. Sorry, he's showing on a zero lap old medium tyres. That's why I got a little bit confused. But Siege has come out ahead of Nino, and Z3 are down in 10th at the moment. Graham in 11th. But first virtual safety car of the season could have actually quite helped Kugino here.
Yeah, it came out a good time for these guys. They'll be pretty happy with that. Josh, therefore, hasn't been able to catch up because you would have expected him to gain about half a second to a second after pitting a lap earlier. There we go, back to racing speeds. DRS enabled once again. Only person who's going to be close enough to use it this time anywhere near the front is Siege on Dan Morris, and with those fresh medium tyres and a full complement of downforce, seeing as Dan Morris is missing part of his front wing, this should be an easy pass for the Dams driver. The big question is now, how far can those top 4 drivers take their medium tyres?
Yeah, that is definitely the question at the moment. It's Blizzard then that leads the race by 7.2 seconds over Honey Badger. Vic Mill in third on he's 2.7 seconds further back, and then 4.5 seconds back to Wesker. Siege, he's going around the outside of Dan Morris into turn 11 by the looks of things. He's pulled it off. Here comes Nino as well, trying to follow through on the way into turn 12. Not typically an overtaking spot, but Dan Morris struggling with those oldest tyres and the front wing damage lets Nino go. Nino up into 8th place. He's on the back of Siege now, so Nino close enough to make the move stick on Siege. Nino's actually gained quite a bit in this pit stop phase. He was about 3 or so seconds behind Siege coming into the pit stop phase. Let's see whether Nino can get the move done on Siege down into turn 1. He will be close enough. Siege has a little bit of mid-corner understeer as well. So Nino has got the run. He's definitely close enough. Siege already going to the inside of the track to defend the line. He's going to park it in the middle of the road. Does Nino go to the inside of the outside? He goes to the outside line. Sticks on the racing line coming down into turn 1. But it looks like he's going to be comfortably ahead. Going into turn 1 he is. He hits the brakes nicely, gets into the corner, well ahead of Siege, and Nino works his way back up into 7th place, but still 7.5 seconds off the back of Josh, who is currently our net race leader.
Yeah, and obviously now Siege will have DRS down the next straight, but not able to do anything. Yeah, Josh looking pretty good. That gap, though, 4.4 seconds, so Kugino has 1 lap fresher tyres as well, so he'll be feeling pretty confident at being able to stretch that gap. I'm sure Josh will be on the radio to Jeff, finding out if Kugino does have a penalty, or maybe Jeff's already told him, because that could be crucial, just keeping within that 1 second window. And let's not forget that VSC period will have helped all those guys who pitted on that lap when it comes to when Blizzard, Honey Badger and Vic Mill pit, because chances are they won't be able to pit under the VSC, so that could be crucial. Maybe that'll be just what Kugino and Josh need to stay ahead of Blizzard. But we're at the halfway point of this race. Blizzard doing very well, 7.5 seconds ahead of Honey Badger. Vic Mill has dropped 3 seconds behind the ART at the moment, so he's showing decent pace, but not as much as he would have liked. The question is going to be, when do Blizzard and Honey Badger and the rest of those guys who haven't pitted yet decide to come in? I'm going to guess round about lap 10, lap 11.
Yeah, I'd probably say around the same, so we'll probably see someone coming in about 2 laps time or so. A known trait of Vic Mill last season, as Kugino sets the fastest lap of the race with a 40.2, great lap from the Trident man. A known trait from Vic Mill, wasn't necessarily the fastest man in the field. He was very consistent though. We used to call him the podium master last season. He would end up on the podium for pretty much every race, despite not quite having the pace to be at the front of the field. And he is notably very good at saving his tyre life. So that may be something he's trying to do. Maybe something. Obviously, Bahrain is very difficult on tyres. Vic Mill He has much more of a clean driving style. He's not as aggressive, and it looks like it helps him save tyres. So maybe that's why he didn't have the pace in the initial part of this race, but he's now starting to match Honey Badger ever so slightly, is because he's better at holding tyre life in, and that is crucial at a track like this.
Yeah, that could be crucial if he does obviously come out on the pits. If he pits a lap later, he'll have 1 lap fresher soft tyres, and with the rate they wear, that could be 3-4 tenths a lap easily gained on those around him. So maybe there's still a chance for him to sneak over the order. I just think he's dropped a bit too far back behind Honey Badger at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'd say the best he could probably aim for is top 5, top 6 maybe, after a few more penalties for a few of the other drivers. Further down the field, Josh is keeping that gap at around 4.5 seconds at the moment, so we'll have to see if he can get his tyres to hold off long enough, because out of the front runners, he was the earliest to go for a scheduled pit stop. We did have Mays pit the lap before, but he's a long way down the field, 12th position, and he's currently 25 seconds off of Coutinho. Closest battle we've got on track is still Siege and Zifrixa for 8th and 9th place at the moment. Dan Morris is still hanging around. He'll soon have his teammate catching him up for 10th, 11th. But we've got the first scheduled medium pit stop. It is Wesker.
Wesker in then, the first of the Arden cars into the pit lane. He's going to put the soft tyres on. Let's see where he comes out. He was running at the bottom end of the top 10 before, obviously, the pit stop phase started. This pit stop should put him, I probably imagine, behind Graham, but ahead of Mays by the looks of things. That looks like where Wesker's going to come out onto the track. Obviously, Dan Morris still hasn't made his pit stop in this race yet either. So Dan Morris not quite in this race. So this is a net P10 for Wesker at the moment. If he can get out of the pits in time, actually, Mays might have undercut him here by the looks of things. It's going to be very close. And I think Mays is actually going to get it done. He is. So Mays is going to come out just ahead of Wesker. Wesker just beats Legend out to the track. Actually, or does he? Legend's going to go right round the outside of turn 1 on Wesker, and Wesker's fallen all the way down to 13th. He's going to have a lot of work to do to catch back up to Graham.
Yeah, catching up to Graham might be a bit too much. It just depends how quickly he can get his way through Legend and Mays. It depends as well which part of the track you end up catching the cars up, because he's clearly going to be faster than them. He'll want to catch them up just coming through the final corner so he can use the DRS, but we'll have to see how it works for these drivers at the moment. I'm just going to have a quick check of the lap times that the front runners are doing. So Blizzard did a 1:41.3 last lap, but he actually set his personal best first sector on this lap, so he's still showing good pace.
And he's into the pits.
So
race leader in.
Yeah, he's into the pits.
I imagine we'll see Honey Badger and Bitmo follow him. About a second a lap, so that's going to pop him. At this point, he's definitely safe in 3rd place ahead of Nino. Nino 9 seconds currently behind Josh. Siege and Nino have good pace, but just not quite the same pace of Coutinho and Josh at the moment. Blizzard will be comfortably P3 coming out of the pit lane. It's how close he's going to be. Oh, it looks like he almost got held up by Honey Badger there. It was very lucky not to, but this is going to be key as to how close to Josh Blizzard is going to be. Let's see how close he will be. It's going to be a bigger gap than it was. It was just under a second before Josh came into the pits. It's actually grown by quite a bit. So Blizzard is going to come out of the pit lane about 5 seconds behind Josh. So he's got actually closer to 6. So Blizzard has a lot of time to make up.
Yeah, I think, though, he might just be able to do it. And Coutinho, he'll be ruining that penalty at the moment, because I'd say without that, he'd be looking very good to win this race. But Blizzard is a net 6 seconds off the lead with 6 laps to go. That's very doable on the soft tyres, so keep an eye on his tyre life. Honey Badger has come out behind Siege, and Honey Badger does have a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane as well, so I think any dreams he had of maybe working his way higher up the order are going to be ruined. 6th place might be the best he can do, maybe even lower if Vicmel manages to get a bit closer to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And Honey Badger picked up a 3-second time penalty, I think, on lap 2 of this race. It was very early on in the race that Honey Badger picked up that time penalty. So 8 seconds of penalties already in this race pops him well down the field, actually closer to Mays than anyone else. So Honey Badger at the moment dropping out of contention, really. Let's see what his pace is on the soft tyres and whether he can make up for that. But he came out 4 seconds behind this Nino and Siege battle for P4. He was ahead of them, I believe, before the pit stop phase happened. So Honey Badger, after that virtual safety car for Nino and Siege when they came into the pit lane, Honey Badger's actually lost quite a bit of ground to these guys. So he's going to have to work his way back forward and hope that people around him get penalties, as you say. Coming to the end of lap 11, just starting lap 12, Coutinho has crucially now broken that 5-second barrier. So it's hovering just around 5 seconds, 5.1. Coutinho has about 2 or 3 tenths worth of lap time pace ahead of Josh and a lap fresher tyres at the moment. He's starting to pull away and starting to build enough of a gap to still win this race. It's looking good so far for the Trident Man, but obviously we've still got a few laps to go in this race. It could all fall apart for him, and it could go Blizzard's way at the moment, who is catching Josh quite quickly. But I will say at the moment, the soft tyres don't have that big of an advantage, as Siege is down the inside of Nino into turn 1. This is going to help Honey Badger close on these guys massively. These guys have been battling pretty much all race long. Siege trying to go round the outside of turn 2. He has the inside now for turn 4 and the DRS down the straight. Can he get a car length ahead into the braking zone? He's just ahead as he hits the brakes, but Nino trying to swoop round the outside. He pinches him on the apex of the corner, and Nino manages to hold on to 4th place. Great defensive driving from Nino in the Univirtuosi.
Yeah, maybe Siege just needed to get his elbows out a bit more, but now that Nino's done that, Siege will take note of that and learn where else he might be able to take them. On the sector 2 and sector 3, sorry, on that last lap, Blizzard gained about 9 tenths on Josh and about 6 or 7 tenths on Coutinho, so it's definitely possible for Blizzard to do it as long as he can keep his tyres in a good enough condition, but it doesn't look like he's gained too much on this lap at the moment. We've got a yellow flag, and that is Legend, who is out. He has gone off, by the looks of things, he's gone off
before turn 4. Yeah, looks like he's gone off before turn 4. We saw this in Australia. I can't remember who it was, but in Australia someone had a gearbox failure. I think a Legend might, he might have been one of them that had a gearbox failure late on in the Australia race. That's something to note for Formula 2 cars this season. Engine mileage and gearbox mileage is definitely a tricky thing to handle with these Formula 2 cars, and it looks like we've had our first person fall foul of that, and it looks to be Legend. Coutinho still got great pace in that car. He's now 5.7 seconds clear of Josh. He had a great push lap there, but Blizzard now steals that fastest lap with a 39.5, but still only half a second faster than Coutinho was that for Blizzard. Blizzard at the moment doesn't have the pace to get within the 5-second window of the Trident Man to take the win of this race at the moment.
Yeah, it's not even looking like he might not have the pace to get within Josh. He needs to be within that DRS range. Obviously, going on to the final lap, we've now seen a move Vic Mill going down the inside at turn 1 of Z37. There's nothing the Carlin car can do as Wesker is out as well. And
turn
that looks
14.
like that could be another gearbox place.
Another person then, it seems, that's struggling with gearbox problems. So Wesker, 2 people on the same lap, Legend and Wesker, both out of the race with seemingly gearbox problems. I believe it was actually Wesker as well was the other person that had the problem in Australia. He was running in the top 5 before a gearbox failure, and that ended his race prematurely in Australia, and it looks like it's happened again in the feature race here at Bahrain. We've still got 3.5 laps to go in this race. It's going to be crucial to see if anyone else falls foul of this, because we could see one of the top drivers at the front of the field fall foul of this gearbox problem, and that could be it's such a cruel way to end your race. But people have got to be mindful of this coming towards the end, that they've got to keep their gearboxes in check.
Yeah, if it's happened twice, you've got to start looking about how maybe you need to change your driving style in these F2 cars, because something you are doing is causing the cars to break, and you are going to lose a lot of points this season. If you're retiring from the feature race, you're never going to get any points in the feature race, and you're going to be at the back of the grid in the sprint race as well, obviously. So it's really going to be tough for these guys, see what they can do. Siege is still all over the back of Little Roman Nino, but now importantly, Honey Badger is beginning to catch them up. He needs to pass them and get 5 seconds ahead, which is going to be a bit much as he drifts his way through the final corner, getting a bit too eager actually there to get on the throttle, and just drops back ever so slightly. Now Siege is going for it down the inside into turn 1 this time, and Little Roman Nino seems very good on the brakes but has to yield.
Or does he?
Does he? Is he going to get back?
Oh, he tries to cut underneath, but he's going to be behind going down to turn 4, and it looks like Siege has also got DRS, so I think Siege might have finally got that move done on Nino. It took him a while to do it. We saw this from Siege last time out as well. We got stuck behind Wesker a lot in Australia. He's been stuck behind Nino for a few laps, but it looks like he's finally been able to make the move stick. Can he gap Nino before Honey Badger reaches these guys? But I will say, at the moment, these soft tyres, this alternate strategy, hasn't worked so far. Blizzard, at this point in the race, isn't really catching Josh at all anymore, and he's running at the same pace as our race leader, and Honey Badger is still struggling to get within DRS range of the 2 in front of him. These soft tyres at the end of the race, it just hasn't worked for them.
No, they all don't seem to have had that same pace that we would have expected normally from the soft tyres, which is a bit strange if I'm being perfectly honest. Now Nino's in the DRS again, but this is very difficult to try and get an overtake done down here. He's down the inside. Siege has been fair, giving him space, but surely Siege is going to be on the inside for the next turn. No, he just drifts a bit wide, and that allows Nino back ahead. This might give Honey Badger that chance to catch up, but with that penalty, obviously, he will drop further back, and just got over 2 laps to go. It'll be 2 laps when Coutinho crosses the line. He looks pretty safe for this victory, and it looks as though Josh is going to be safe from Blizzard. He's only managed to knock around a second over the last 2 laps. He needs to catch up another 3.5.
Yeah, it's really not working at the moment for Blizzard. It just doesn't have the pace on these soft tyres. It's not quite working. The medium is definitely the better race tyre around Bahrain by the looks of things. Coutinho now has a 6.1 second lead over Josh. It's been a bit of a breeze really so far from Coutinho, despite a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. It's been pretty easy for him. Siege and Nino still going at it into turn 1. Siege down the inside, he makes the move stick once again, but Nino looks like he's going to have the DRS, is he? Down the straight towards turn 4. No, Siege still has DRS down into turn 4. Nino in his slipstream. Is he going to try and go all the way around the outside? Honey Badger waiting to pounce if there's a mistake from these guys. As I say that, Nino has a rear lock, and Honey Badger down the inside of turn 4. He works his way up into P5. He splits this battle. Can he make his way past Siege now and gap these guys enough to maybe save some of that pain with the penalty that he has? He's trying to look to the inside. Siege defends the line down into turn 8, but runs a bit wide on the exit. Honey Badger trying to get the traction on the exit of the corner, but still, despite the understeer, Siege has the better run coming out of the corner. Honey Badger just doesn't have the pace on the soft tyres to really blast past these guys and pull away from them. But he's going to have the DRS now down into turn 11. Is he going to be close enough to make a move? We've seen Nino do it on the last lap on Siege, but Honey Badger doesn't look close enough down into turn 11. He's going to have to wait down for the pit straight, but a mistake from Nino once again has allowed another person through.
Yeah, there's a couple of times he's been caught out under braking, so whether it is something with his brake bias settings or his differential that he needs to look out, or just the way he's set up the car and handling it around the corners, but once his tyres start to wear, he really seems to struggle from some of these turns. And to be honest, Honey Badger, I've noticed it on traction, he looks fairly hesitant. A couple of times he's nearly lost it coming out of corners, and I think that just allowed Siege to get a better exit. Now, however, Siege has gone a bit deep, but again, he just pulls away ever so slightly. But once Honey Badger gets the DRS, don't think there's going to be a lot Siege can do about this. He's stuck in the middle of the road waiting to see which way
Honey Badger goes to the outside.
Going to go. He picks the outside. Nino might pick the inside here. In fact, he just hands back ever so slightly, but Honey Badger will have the inside for the next bit. Whoever gets DRS here could be in a good situation, and it is going to be Siege. So Honey Badger is up to 4th place for now. Siege is going to have another look, but so is Little Romanino, who's going to find the road blocked, actually, I think, in front of him. And in the end, Honey Badger runs wide there, should be able to get a good enough exit, though, to take that 4th place on track. Here
comes Nino.
But I do believe he will drop down these guys, and Nino's looking for a move.
He had a look down the outside of the corner, but it didn't quite work out. Meanwhile, in behind on the last lap of the race, Graham has passed D3 for reverse grid pole. He's snuck past D3, who's struggled in this race so far to hold his good qualifying position. He drops down to 9th. Graham up into reverse grid pole for the time being, barring any penalties. At the moment, Vic Mill doing enough to still be within penalty range of Honey Badger to take a place off him. Conti now retires from the race. He's spun on the exit of turn 10, I think, and has hit the wall, unfortunately. He's had a bit of a torrid race so far when he retires on the final lap of race, which is such a shame. But we're going to ride on board with Coutinho. Coming up to the final corner, he's already weaving. He knows he's absolutely dominated the feature race. A dominant race win to start the season off for Coutinho. He's going to cross the line with 7 seconds to spare. What a great opening round this has been for him. He wins the feature race here at Bahrain. He's going to take it on track even with the 5-second time penalty. Josh, after a great pole position, can't convert it into a race spin, but still a great podium for him. Blizzard going to cross the line with the alternate strategy. Just didn't work for him in the end. He stays P3. Not the Blizzard we're used to seeing. He only finishes third. It's 10 seconds further back now to Honey Badger, who's going to cross the line in 4th, but likely passed by Siege and Nino. They both go past, and Siege takes P4 ahead of Nino P5. Where does Vicmil shake out in all of this? It's going to be close. Vicmil crosses the line, but he does jump Honey Badger by 7/10 of a second. Graham is going to be the next person to cross the line, and it looks like he is going to take reverse grid pole for the sprint race in the Prima car. He crosses the line 8 seconds behind Honey Badger. Z3X is going to be next to cross the line. A race of what could have been for him. Unfortunately, he also had a speeding penalty. Does that allow Mays to jump ahead? Mays not close enough to capitalise on it. Scuba in 11th. A great pre-season round for Scuba. Didn't pay off for him today after contact early on in the race. He finishes down in 11th. And Dan Morris, after contact in the second lap of the race, is going to be the last man to cross the line in 12th. Good on him for keeping going, but a real shame for the likes of Scuba and Dan Morris, who had good pace, but it's just not worked out for them so far in the feature race.
No, I think Dan just went a bit too long on that with that damaged front wing. Maybe if you started on the softs, you could afford to do another lap and then change onto the mediums. But he was probably thinking about the pit stop time in Formula 2 with how much longer it is in F1. Didn't work out for him, but he did finish. 4 drivers didn't, so at least he'll just pick up a few points for 12th position. But Coutinho, he'll have absolutely loved how that race went. Even with that 5-second penalty, there was no one to stop him.
Absolutely, yeah, it was a dominant race win in the end. Honey Badger takes drive of the day for the most positions gained in the feature race. He's had that, he took that in Australia last time out. He takes it again here in Bahrain, but it's only a P6 finish in the end for P7 finish, sorry, for Honey Badger in the end. But we'll run you through the feature race standings then after the first race of the season. So it is Coutinho that takes the win in the Trident ahead of Josh in second place. He comes through only 2 seconds behind in the end. Blizzard takes third place in the Carlin ahead of Siege fourth, Nino in fifth, Vicmil sixth, Honeybadger seventh, Graham eighth, and on reverse grid pole for the sprint race. Z3 down to 9th, Maze in 10th, Scuba in 11th, Dan Morris in 12th place. Conti, Wesker, Legend, and Frankie all did not finish the race, and it looks like Wesker and Legend both finished the race because of a gearbox problem. Conti spun on the exit of turn 10 and hit the wall, and Frankie, I believe, hit the wall on the exit of turn 12. So those are your 4 retirements, and that is the results of the feature race. For the feature race, who would take your driver of the race?
I'm going to go for someone a bit different here. I'm actually going to go for Scuba just because of the recovery. When you think he's not finished too far behind Maze, with the damage he had earlier on, without that, who knows where he could have been. So I'd say I was just trying to look for someone other than Coutinho just because of how dominant he was, if I'm being honest.
That's absolutely fair enough. I was going to say Coutinho, so at least we didn't both go for the same thing. But yeah, Scuba, a good recovery. Obviously, in terms of positions, maybe not the best recovery he could have hoped for, but in terms of time, being on the back of Maze, he was fighting, I believe, with Nino, and the likes of Nino and Siege before the contact happened, and to come back and nearly beat Maze on track is a great recovery from Scuba. Unfortunately, it's not enough for him to be at the front of the grid for the sprint race, and the front row for the sprint race is going to be Scuba and Honeybadger. So that, not Scuba and Honeybadger, apologies, that is going to be Graham and Honeybadger. That seems like a bit of a spicy front row for the sprint race.
Yeah, I think Honeybadger's going to be hoping for a good start here, just try and get off at the field, and if he does, he might just try and go into distance. We'll see what Vicmil can do as well, starting in third, because he was pretty quiet in that race. Can't remember him doing anything too spectacular, just another solid performance from last season's runner-up, and that got him to finish in 6th position. A lot of this could be down to, as well, what tyres are they all going to end up starting this sprint race on. Hopefully, for their sakes, they'll all be on the soft tyres to guarantee they've got that extra bit of pace, but we'll just have to wait and see what they can do, see what Scuba can do as well, because he was quick, and obviously he's starting outside of that top 8, so wouldn't be surprised to see him work his way up the order.
Absolutely, and we'll have to wait and see as well what the top 3 from the feature race can do in terms of the sprint race, how far forward they can work through the field. Have to wait and see whether Blizzard, Josh and Coutinho can get to the front of the field in the sprint race. We saw a number of times last season people taking a win in the feature and the sprint race. Blizzard did it on 2 occasions, I believe. Toxic did it at Bahrain last season. He won the feature race and the sprint race last season. So it's definitely possible for the likes of Coutinho to pull off a double win in this round. Have to wait and see if he has the pace to do it, but based on the feature race, he was easily the fastest man in the field, so I wouldn't be shocked to see him move his way to the front of the field in this race.
No, it wouldn't surprise me if he works his way up. We'll have to see maybe if Josh can get a better start. He's starting just ahead of Coutinho again, and that obviously cost him in the early stages. Maybe he'd have been able to hold the Trident up. If he'd have had a better start, Z3 must be ruined the fact that he got overtaken on the final lap, starting down in 9th, and I think he'll be disappointed with the way that race went. He obviously got that 5-second penalty, which in the end didn't affect his position, but he just seemed to move backwards throughout the race.
Yeah, he was 6th on the grid starting the feature race, and he was battling Blizzard on the exit of turn 1 for 3rd place, so he had a great start at Z3, so he did that a lot last season as well, but yeah, just struggled for pace, and at the end of the race, Graham actually breezed past him and still managed to beat Z3 by 3 seconds coming up to the line, so it looks like Z3 must have run out of tyres massively towards the end of that race, because Graham breezed past him and disappeared off into the distance. So it's a shame for C3 that he's ended up in P9, 1 place off the sprint race pole, and that's probably the most gut-wrenching place to finish the feature race, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely, because not only is there's only a 1 point difference between finishing 8th and 9th in terms of the championship. Well, if we assume they finish where they start, which probably won't be the case, you only get 7 points in the sprint race for finishing in 9th. You get 18 for finishing in that 1st position, and that can be crucial sometimes. If you have a bad race, it's trying to make sure you get towards the lower end of that top 8 to take an advantage this time around. Honeybadger didn't have a bad race, he obviously just had that penalty, so that did drop him down the order. So whilst he didn't get as many points as we've seen, Vicmil's actually spun it on the formation lap right next to the grid, so hopefully he'll be able to carry on. It's a good job they don't have these damage on the formation lap, because I tell you one thing, I'd have been caught out by that a few times, but he'll be fine to start the race. His tyres will be up to temperature and he didn't get disqualified anyway. Will Graham be able to hold off at the start? He had a quiet race, but a consistent race. He's been rewarded with sprint race pole.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll hand you over to you then for the start of the sprint race. Let's get ready and get going for this final race of the...
Yeah, just waiting for Vic Mill to take his position on the grid. Will Honey Badger be able to show off that pace that he showed last weekend, where he won the sprint race, obviously, as well? Waiting for the lights to come on now for the sprint race here in Bahrain. And we are underway, and it seems again like Honey Badger's got a fairly decent start. Graham doing well as well. Vic Mill not having a good start whatsoever. Little Nino and Siege getting ahead as well. Little Nino having a bit of a look there at Honey Badger, but it's still Graham leading into turn one. He's gone slightly deep though. That might allow Honey Badger to just have a move, but obviously with the way this track funnels down, Graham stays ahead through turns 2 and 3. Siege up to third place, but might not be for too long with Little Romaninho battling. These two battled all the way through the feature race, and the Univirtuosi has gone down the inside to try and take third position. But now Siege will be able to hang it on round the outside. That's what he thought, but was not able to do so. Blizzard is up to 6. Josh and Coutinho battling for 7th and 8th. But in fact, there was a bit of contact, and Coutinho is around. So we saw a few doubles last season. It's going to be an absolutely miraculous job if we see the same this time around. Maze has gone very wide there. I'm not sure if there was any contact between himself and Frunky. They did look close together, the Univirtuosi and the Dams car. But at the front of the field, Graham just hanging on for now from Honey Badger.
Yeah, Nino had another moment in turn 10. Slid into the side of Siege's car. He got away with it, but he loses the place to Siege, who was coming under pressure from Vic Mill. Comes Blizzard now down the inside of Vic Mill, up the inside of way through. Josh is trying to get the pair of them though on the exit coming through turn 12. This would be a great move if you can pull it off round the outside. Blizzard's still on the inside though for turn 13. Is he going to through the corner? Can Josh drive all the way around the outside? There's a bit of wheel banging between the two of them, but a great move from Josh round the outside of turn 12. Passes two people in one corner.
Yeah, just fantastic opportunistic driving there. He saw obviously Vic Mill getting pushed slightly wide by Blizzard when he went for the overtake. That compromised Blizzard as well, and Josh thought I might as well try and take this position. He'll be looking good obviously for the lead of the championship now, with Coutinho being way down at the back of the order. Let's see how far Graham can move up, but it is still Graham just leading at the moment from obviously Honey Badger. So they're extremely close together, and Honey Badger's actually just overtaken Graham, but again Honey Badger struggling on exit with traction, and Graham's going to be able to have a look down the inside heading towards turn 4. Is DeFraber going to be able to get ahead? No, not this time around. There is a bit of ghosting going on between them, which I'm sure is distracting, but it's Honey Badger in the lead from Graham at this moment in time, and Siege and Nino right on the back as well, as we've had another spinner, and that is Dan Morris.
Yeah, Dan Morris spins in the Prima. Two very unfortunate races for the Prima driver. He's down at the back. Honey Badger now takes over the lead from Graham, who did a great job to hold on to the lead for the first lap. Siege is now all over the back of the Prima driver. Now it's going to be key for Honey Badger's race to see whether he can gap these guys as quickly as possible before DRS is enabled at the start of the next lap. Siege on the back of Graham now down into turn 11. Can he get a move stuck on the inside? He darts to the inside of the corner, but again Siege not confident enough on the brakes to make the move stick. We saw this a lot in the feature race. We saw it in Australia last week. It takes Siege a bit of confidence and a while to get a move stuck. So he might get stuck behind Graham here, and this could help Honey Badger massively in this race. Nino and Josh really battling in behind. Josh basically pushing Nino through turn 13. Nino runs wide on the exit of the corner as well. Josh looking to get on with it as quickly as possible. He knows that his championship rival is currently down in 14th place. Great opportunity for Josh to take the lead. He's going to go down the inside of turn 14. He's really late on the brakes, locks up, hits the side of the Univirtuosi, but they get away with it. He's going to have the momentum on the exit of the corner. Look out for Blizzard though, able to get one on the pair of them because of this. We'll go on board with Blizzard down into turn 1. Is he going to be close enough? It doesn't look like he is. Siege is going to breeze past Graham into turn 1. Is he? Or is Graham going to have momentum on the outside of the corner? We'll have to wait and see. Josh and Nino still side by side. Nino trying to squeeze Josh to the apex of the corner. They're still side by side through turn 2, but Josh is going to have momentum around the outside of turn 2, and he takes 4th place. Blizzard now on the back of Nino, trying to make it 2 places lost in 2 corners for Nino. He's down the inside as Blizzard. Does he have? He has it down the inside. As gets a bit of a swapper on though. Hit the side of Nino's car. Nino, they're still side by side now, coming into the next corner at the end of the first sector. Nino trying to work his way back. He's down the inside for the next corner, but hits the curb ever so slightly. Blizzard's through, and here comes Scuba now. He's up to 7th place. He's had a great start to this race. He's down the inside. Wesker, meanwhile, has hit the wall. He's spun. Oh, and as I say that, Nino has a moment as Scuba has a moment. He slides on the exit of the corner. Vitmill's back through, and a virtual safety car comes out in the sprint race.
Yeah, and I think they're all going to have to calm down and try and work out where they were, obviously. There's so much battling going on from 3rd to 6th place at that moment. It's Honey Badger and Siege in the lead of this race. I was going to say Scuba had a great start just before he made that mistake. Again, Nino looks as though he's got almost like no rear downforce on that thing. He seems to be twitching all over the place through the midsection of the corner. It's not a traction problem. It looks as though it is just a bit of a setup decision he's made. But anyway, virtual safety car is over. DRS enabled once again. Blizzard getting ahead of Josh in all that. He's been very intelligent with his driving, and we saw a BTCC game get announced today. Some of this driving's been reminiscent of that. It's not the best for the cars, but it's definitely fun to watch.
Absolutely is. Oh, Josh, far too late on the brakes for the final corner, slams into the back of Blizzard's car. Josh has lost a lot of front wing. Blizzard slides on the exit of the corner, and Nino is back up into 4th place. Blizzard gets away with no damage, but Josh, perfect opportunity to gain points on Kugino, is now falling behind and has to dive into the pit lane with a 10-second time penalty for exceeding track limits as well. Josh throws away a possible podium in the sprint race and is into the pits. What a disaster for Josh.
Yeah, hopefully you might be able to get that penalty removed, because that did seem a bit unfair. He's actually retired.
He's retired from the race, yeah.
Retired from the race, but you could still get points, obviously. So I'm not quite sure that was the wisest thing. Conti's come into the pits as well. He's another driver having a bad race, and now Scuba's actually having a go at Blizzard. These two have come close together all of a sudden. Nino going for Graham now. Univirtuosi's been squeezed on the inside of that corner previously. Just goes round the outside this time. Does well. Graham drop down the field, and then he fights back. This is going to be close on the exit, but the Univirtuosi should have it.
Yeah, he has the traction on the exit at turn 8, coming towards turn 9. Nino up into the podium places. A bit of carnage in front of him. Nino's gained 3 places in 1 lap. Is up to 3rd. Blizzard down into turn 10, as is Scuba. Graham's now falling through the field very quickly. Blizzard up into 4th. Scuba on the inside for 5th. This is a great recovery drive from Scuba into the top 5. We have a yellow flag in sector 1. That's Conti that spun by the looks of it on the exit of turn 3, coming towards turn 4. Scuba gets the move done on Graham. Here comes Vic Mill now. Mill made a mistake a little bit earlier on in this race and dropped a couple places, but he's coming back at these guys now. He's on the back, as is Z3 as well. Legend not too far behind. Kugino back into the top 10, amazingly, after his spin early on in this race. He's starting to catch these guys as well. Can Vitmil get a move done on Graham? But these guys are all going to be in the DRS. It's Nino at the front of the queue. He's only 4 tenths ahead of Blizzard at the moment. Is Blizzard going to be close enough for a move to get onto the podium? Honey Badger still leads this race, but Siege is slowly but surely catching Honey Badger. It's down to 7 tenths of a second. They're 3 seconds clear of Nino with 3rd. Here comes Blizzard to the inside of turn 1. He actually backs off for a move. He lifts off coming down into the corner. Doesn't go for the inside for turn 1. And again, Nino struggling with the rear end of that car under braking. Like you said, something wrong with the setup on Nino's car. He cannot get the car turned in without sliding, and it's costing him a load of momentum at the moment. Here comes Blizzard down the inside for turn 4. Maybe he goes to the inside. Nino doesn't defend the corner. Blizzard very late on the brakes, locks up slightly, has to take a tight line. Scuba's trying to follow him through. Scuba looking incredibly fast in this sprint race. He's pushing Blizzard to try and get past Nino. Blizzard down the inside. Does he force Nino wide? He does. Scuba trying to capitalise as well. Scuba may have the inside line for the next corner, but looks a little bit too far back. Blizzard back up into the podium places. Nino drops to 4th, but Scuba looking the racist of the bunch. He's up into 5th, looking to get into 4th. What a great recovery drive this is from Scuba so far.
Yeah, let's not forget he's made a mistake as well. That dropped him down a few places earlier. Nino nearly going into the back of Blizzard. There just about avoids contact, but in doing so, that does allow Scuba through, and it's going to allow Graham a fantastic chance to get through as well. I believe both of them are going to have DRS, and Nino just holds on for now, or does he? Because Graham has sent one down the inside, just not able to get the car turned in and off, and Nino will hold on for now. Conti has retired in the pit lane, so we are down to just 13 runners, and apart from Dan Morris, they're all extremely close together, all the way from Blizzard in 3rd. He's at the front of the train, so he doesn't have DRS, but until Nino drops a second behind just then, they're all very close together, and now Dan Morris retires, so
yeah,
from 3rd to 12th, it's all extremely close together, and at a VSC again.
Another virtual safety car. That saves Blizzard, actually. Scuba was well within DRS range of Blizzard for 3rd place. That's the main overtaking opportunity on the track has gone for Scuba this time round. Blizzard holds on to P3 for the time being. But yeah, Dan Morris running around at the back of the field again. He has retired on the way into turn 11. It's very early on in the corner, so I don't know whether he's had maybe an early gearbox problem in this race of some sort, or whether he's just retired on track. But that, like I said, that does save Blizzard. We'll have to wait and see when the virtual safety car gets going and whether Scuba is racy at the virtual safety car restart and can get past. Honey Badger had gapped Siege ever so slightly once again, so it looks like Honey Badger does have the pace to counter the attack from Siege at the moment. These guys are quite well ahead of the battle for 3rd place at the moment. We're just waiting for the virtual safety car to get going again. I will say Kugino has had a great recovery so far in this race, up to 10th on the back of the queue, right behind his teammate. So I wonder whether Legend might let his teammate through to have a go at the guys in front. as the virtual safety car has ended, and Scuba only 0.2 of a second behind Blizzard. Scuba looking the raciest of the bunch. He's had a great race so far in 4th place. As I say that, Coutinho down the inside of Legend, so it has happened. Coutinho has been let through by his Trident teammate and is up into 9th, already on the back of Z-Fixer for 8th place. We'll go on board with Scuba though, coming down into turn 11. Is he going to be close enough to Blizzard to make a move? It's quite a short straight and not a heavy braking zone, so it's going to have to be very late on the brakes to get this move done, and it doesn't look like it's close enough. But Scuba looking desperate to get on the podium in this race.
Yeah, he's definitely got a good chance. They both seem to be catching up ever so slightly to Siege as well. It just remains to be seen whether they can close that 3.2 second gap in the remaining half of this race. Nino gets himself a time penalty. That could be really costly. With all these VSCs, obviously, the field staying very bunched up together, so that could cost him at the end. We'll have to wait and see. Scuba then still on the back of Blizzard. We were just about to start lap 7. Honey Badger and Siege still leading, and Honey Badger, he'll be glad to have broken that DRS window. And Blizzard just gets a slightly better exit than Scuba there. That could give him a reprieve into turns 1, 2 and 3, but maybe not into 4. Scuba definitely catching though into Shamu, and Blizzard does need to go defensive. Scuba's going to have to go the long way round. Thinks better of it this time around. He's going to concentrate on getting a better exit and getting DRS down the next straight.
Yeah, Coutinho makes it past Z3, so at turn 1, Coutinho up into 8th place now, and he's on the back of this Scuba that's flying 4th. Nino at the moment. Scuba, is he going to look to the inside of Blizzard? Not close enough to make the move into turn 4. Blizzard locks up ever so slightly, but it doesn't affect his line in the corner, and Scuba has the same 4th for the time being. But Blizzard at the moment, last season's champion, again doing a consistent solid job at running in the podium places at the moment, but just doesn't really have that outright pace that he had at so many points last season that meant he dominated the championship in the end. He just doesn't seem to have the same pace at the moment.
Scuba just had one almighty moment over that infamous curve at turn 7. Nearly lost the back end, somehow caught it without losing any more than a 10th of a second. Miraculous from him, but he has just dropped ever so slightly back from Blizzard. Thankfully for him, Nino's dropping back as well. So Nino's sort of got his own little train forming behind him now. 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th position. Maybe just trying to be a bit careful, save those tyres, because with his Tokyo Drift setup that he seems to have set on that Univirtuosi, he will be cooking through those rears.
Absolutely, yeah, he's set this car up more for Formula Drift than Formula 2 at the moment. Has Nino, he's really struggling with the rear tyres. Graham starting to lose touch ever so slightly, but still, Graham doing a solid job despite being on the pole for the sprint race. Is doing a solid job of holding his own at the moment in the midfield. He's still ahead. He's actually lost places in the race so far. He started in 6th place, is down in 7th, hasn't been able to work his way forward. Blizzard sets the fastest lap of the race. Scuba right in behind, still only 4 tenths back. He's managed to keep that gap very close despite the mistake. So trying to get close in behind Blizzard. The fastest lap, but it was only a couple tenths quicker than Siege at the moment. So it looks like the top 2 are safe for the time being. I probably commentated curse them by saying that, but the top 2 look comfortable at the moment. Scuba again looking to the inside for turn 4, but not close enough, trying to force Blizzard into a mistake, but that's very unlikely from Blizzard, who is so easily, watching him drive the car he makes it look so easy. Again, Scuba a bit of a lock up there into turn 5 over the curb. He doesn't have a moment this time round, but again another lock up from Scuba. He's really pushing this car to try and pass Blizzard, but it's now starting to cost him a little bit of time.
Yeah, he needs to be cleaner on the exit of the corners just to try and obviously get closer. For example, this one, but Blizzard makes the apex. Scuba maybe just about a foot too wide of the apex, and that's all it takes for Blizzard to get a better exit and just pull away ever so slightly from Scuba. Little Roman Nino has now broken that 1 second window back to Graham. Vic Mill not too far behind Graham. Coutinho right on the back of the Arden as well. So this battle for 6th, 7th and 8th. It has been a great recovery from Coutinho. We'll have to see how far up the field he can get. He'll definitely be aiming to get past these 2 in front of him, get up into 6th place. It might just prove to be a bit too hard for him to get ahead of Little Romanino at this moment. 2 seconds behind with 4 laps to go. We'll have to wait and see, as we've got another yellow flag here, and I'm not sure if that's for Frunky.
Yeah, Frunky off the road. Yeah, he's spun the car on the exit at turn 12. It looks like he might have touched the apex on the inside and spun through turn 13, unfortunately. Not the start to the season that he would have wanted, but he's still going and he still will score points at this point in the race. So that is all he needs to do. He just needs to continue on and score the points. But this drive Vitmil down the outside. Oh, Coutinho trying to make it 3 wide there on the outside of the corner, but Vitmil's got the outside line for turn 1. He's going to have the run on the exit. Graham gets very squirrely. Graham loses places in one corner. Coutinho up the inside into 7th. Can he get 6th place? Can he get 2 for 1 in Sector 1? He's down the inside of Vitmil with DRS. Is he going to be late enough on the brakes? Vitmil squeezes him right to the inside of the corner, but Coutinho is going to have the better line on the exit and the inside for the next corner. Gets ahead, and a full safety car comes out this time round. With only 3.5 laps to go, we have a full safety car in this race. That completely obliterates the gap that Honey Badger and Siege had in this race.
There's the commentator's curse, like you mentioned earlier. They were looking pretty safe. All it takes is a safety car, and it was Funky, I think, had obviously cupped his tyres through 12 and 13 with that spin and spun again, I think, coming out of the final corner. So a full safety car. Surely by the time this comes in, we are only going to have one flying lap, and that obviously means no DRS as well. So they're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way and try and find somewhere better. They'll definitely have fresh enough tyres. This is going to be very interesting. A big loser from this will be Little Romaninho, because he does have a 3-second penalty, and as far as I'm aware, as I just quickly fly my way through the order, I can't see anyone else who currently has a penalty. We've got a few drivers on 2 warnings, but yeah, Little Romaninho and Freakser, actually, he's another one with a penalty. They are really going to lose out from this safety car. Yeah, that is really costly for them. Nino was starting to build a gap to the likes of Vitmo and Graham behind. He could have secured maybe a P6 in this race. Coutinho definitely has the pace to catch Nino at this point, but that gap has now completely been obliterated, and he will drop down if he can't gap them at the safety car restart. Like you say, it looks like we're only going to have maybe 2 or 3 laps to go in this race. Honey Badger feigned coming into the pit lane there. I think maybe we might see... I wonder if we'll see maybe Legend or Maze come into the pits and put a set of soft tyres on. They're at the back of the field. As I say that, Legend thinks about it. He goes to the inside, but he doesn't commit to the pit lane. He stays out. Will we see Maze come in? Maze has been known to do an alternate strategy before, but he decides against doing it. He's not going to put the soft tyres on for this final stint in the race. If I was Maze in that point, though, if you were Maze, actually, I think I would have done it. Would you have come into the pits and put a set of soft tyres on? What have you got to lose? You might as well try something, and might not work out. If the safety car came in at the end of this lap, you'd have a fantastic chance of obviously getting the fastest lap. You might not catch up to the back of the field. If it came in with only 1 lap to go, you're going to have so much more grip than everyone else that surely just on corner exit, if you take it a bit careful, you'll be able to nab a few of the cars ahead of you. So I'm not sure why he didn't go for that, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I probably agree with you on that one as well, to say that the soft tyres didn't necessarily perform that well in the feature race, but they still had a clear advantage, and especially with people all running on 10 lap old mediums at this point in the race, he definitely would have had a clear advantage over the people in front. Maze could have gained at least a couple of places, and even a couple more with the likes of Nino and Z3 having time penalties, so Maze could have jumped well into the top, maybe into the mid top 10 at this point, maybe a possible top 5 with those soft tyres on, but he's decided against it, as has Legend as well. They've decided to stay out on the track and keep as close to the safety car as possible. It looks like that we may actually get going at the end of this lap. Everyone has caught the queue, so I have to wait and see if the safety car does come in or whether it stays out for another lap. Honey Badger's probably irking the car on to stay out for another lap so that he doesn't have to battle Siege as hard, but it is coming in. Safety car only out for 1 lap, and it's already coming back in. We'll have to wait and see where Honey Badger starts this race, where he decides to get going again. Obviously has to wait for the safety car to come back into the pit lane, and there's no overtaking before the start-finish line. Honey Badger's got 2 laps to defend this race lead. This is the biggest challenge he's had so far in this race. He's led comfortably so far. Siege has followed him close behind for the whole race, but now they've got a whole queue of cars queuing up behind. Blizzard nearly actually runs straight into the back of Siege there before the final corner. We've got very lucky not to run into the back of the dams, but here we go for the safety. Just going to go out the last corner. Is he, by the looks of things? He is. He's gone. So he gaps Siege quite well. And look at Scuba once again looking incredibly racy on the safety car restart. Is tucked in behind Blizzard. There will be no DRS left in this race. Not enough laps left in the race for it to re-enable, but Scuba already looking for a move down the inside of Blizzard, who's moving on in the braking zone on Scuba. Scuba has to back out, and that's going to allow Nino to capitalise around the outside. Scuba forced on the curb on the inside. Nino all the way around the outside of turn 1. He capitalizes on the battle in 4th place. Here comes Guinean now. He's on the back of these guys. Is he able to make a move? Nino looks like he had a bit of traction. Got away with it. Scuba to the inside of the track. Coutinho trying to go all the way around the outside of turn 4. Can he pull it off? He's going to have the run. Is he down into turn 6? Oh, there's contact. They both go off the road. They just about get away with it. Vic Mill through. Coutinho also picks up a 3-second time penalty. That is shameful for Coutinho to pick that up. Graham's caught up by Coutinho going slowly now. And Z3 is trying to go around the outside down into turn 8, but he can't pull that one off. Legend looks like he tried to capitalise as well, but he couldn't pull that one off either. But a bit of contact with Scuba and Coutinho, and that's going to cost them massively in this race. Yes, obviously Scuba's now dropped quite a long way behind Little Romaninho, so we'll have to see if he can catch up. Coutinho now has the penalty as well. It just looked as though Blizzard had a bit more straight line speed than Scuba. Scuba wasn't really catching up in the slipstream, and as soon as he pulled out, the Carling car was able to just pull away ever so slightly, and those two were both catching Siege and Honey Badger up ever so slightly before the safety car came out. So we'll have to see if they've still got the life in the tyres. They'd really struggle to warm these tyres up as well, so they've done a good job after the safety car. The worn mediums do not like warming up at all. That's why we saw so much weaving going on and accelerating and braking under the safety car. But Honey Badger got the restart pretty well, even though it was a pretty predictable place to do it, as Blizzard nearly runs into the back of Siege. We're going on to the final lap. I think this battle for second place could get very tasty.
Yeah, we're going to see Siege go for a dive bomb on one. He's not catching Siege in a straight line though. Siege has got a good kind of straight line. He still defends. Blizzard goes for it down the inside. Siege opens the braking up in the braking zone. Doesn't run into the back of Honey Badger. Make sure that he still has the line for turn 1, but it's compromised through turn 2. Blizzard's going to get an incredible run, but actually such a good run that he runs into the back of Siege, and here comes Nino round the outside. Even with that time penalty, it's not slowing Nino down. He's going back towards the podium. Maybe he's going to try and go around the outside of Blizzard, who's now looking to the inside of Siege for the next corner, but they runs a little bit wide as Nino. Here comes Scuba once again, battling back down the inside of Nino. Oh, there's a bit of contact. Scuba sliding through the corner. He's going to slide a little bit too optimistic there from the Chiru car, and he drops all the way down to 8th for Scuba. A race of what could have been. He actually drops now down to 10th. What a disaster this has been. A disastrous safety car restart for Scuba, who looked almost set for a possible podium in this race. He drops down to 10th. We're coming towards the final part of this race now. Honey Badger has an 8th gap to Siege. He looks comfortable in the lead of this race. Siege in second. Blizzard not close enough to make a move into turn 12. His last overtaking opportunity is going to be the last corner of the last lap. Can Blizzard get the run out of turn 13? He's actually got a good run coming up through 12. Could it be close enough to maybe dart to the inside for turn 13? Runs a little bit wide, but it doesn't look like Blizzard is close enough. Blizzard taking a wider line, trying to get the run down into turn 14. He has got the run. Siege is going to have to defend this to the inside. He doesn't want Blizzard overtaking him at the last corner on the last lap, but he isn't defending. Siege isn't going down the inside. Blizzard's going to try and send it late on the brakes down the inside. There's a bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, but Blizzard forces his way through, and Siege spins on the exit of the corner. Honey Badger's going to cross the line and take the win of the race. Siege at the final corner spins the car after Blizzard passes him. Blizzard takes second in this race. Vic Mill, like I said, he's the master of getting on the podium despite not having the pace. He jumps to third with everyone's penalties. A disastrous final corner for Siege, who looks so set for second, ends up retiring from the race.
I'm not sure why he didn't defend that. It's the final corner. You know Blizzard was going to go for it. If he was anywhere close, he was going to send one down the inside. You've got to defend the inside line. I think it was years and years ago. I remember Jarno Trulli at France dawdling along, and Barrichello just sent one down the inside and got himself a podium. Nearly had a similar situation tonight. It's just a shame for Siege, obviously, that he's classified in 11th, but obviously crashed out at the final corner.
That is such a shame for Siege. After running in second for the majority of this race, he doesn't finish the race. But it's Honey Badger that takes the sprint race win in the end. It was a lot closer margin than we were predicting. Blizzard takes second with the fastest lap. So that's great stuff from Blizzard in the sprint race. Vic Mill takes third place after a fairly quiet sprint race. In the end, he takes the podium. Graham jumps up to fourth again, so a good sprint race for Graham. Despite falling through the field early on in the race, he's worked his way back through well. Nino takes fifth. Coutinho, despite the 3-second time penalty, still takes sixth in this race, so a great recovery from him. Legend in seventh place in the other Trident car. Scuba only manages eighth in the end. Mays in ninth, ahead of Z3's 10th. Siege down in 11th. He's the last. He was technically classified, but obviously retired from the race at the final corner of the final lap. Frankie, Dan Morris, Conti, Josh and Wesker all did not finish this race. That was a crazy sprint race to say the least. Who do you think the driver of the race was for that one?
I think this time I am going to go for the predictable choice of just Honey Badger. Got a good start, obviously managed to get past Graham pretty patiently, didn't try and send one down the inside, knew he had enough pace, extended the gap once ahead of Siege once them two had got clear, didn't panic under the safety car, just was nice and clever with the restart. Ended up getting the victory today, and I think that it'll be a case of what could have been for a lot of drivers at the moment. Coutinho, the spin and the penalty. We saw obviously Siege retire and Scuba. It was a very optimistic move down the inside of Little Romaninho. You can't really pass through 5, 6 and 7 unless you are alongside the car.
Absolutely, yeah, it is. That was definitely an ambitious move in the end. It didn't pay off for him, but still a good thing for Scuba to take into the next round, as he has got decent pace in this race. He was battling Blizzard the entire way through, and obviously Blizzard dominated last season in the championship standings. So Scuba can take some positives out of that one into next week's race. But that is where we're going to finish off today. That was a brilliant start to the season. We've had 2 race winners already so far. So Coutinho wins the feature race, Honey Badger wins the sprint race in the end. A lot of people, though, could be challenging for the championship this season. Just based off the first race of the season, though, who stands out to you as the main title contenders?
Well, Coutinho definitely looks to have had the pace today. Josh was looking very good in that sprint race before he just got it completely wrong under braking at the end of one of the VSCs, which is a shame for him. We've seen the consistency from Blizzard. Again, Vic Mill doesn't look to have the pace, but did get a podium and have some pretty decent results. Honey Badger, we know he's fast. I think it's going to be a very, very close championship. Can't see it being as easy as it was last year for Blizzard. Obviously, he looked pretty good last season at the end. Ended up winning the Drivers' Championship fairly comfortably, well ahead of everyone else. 68 points ahead of Vic Mill at the end. I'll be surprised if the gap's anywhere near as big this time.
Yeah, I'll be surprised as well, considering that despite Blizzard getting 2 podiums in the first 2 races of the season, he definitely wasn't the fastest driver in the field in either race. So he's definitely got a lot more competition this season, which is great to see. But that is where we're going to finish today. Just before we do go, though, who do you think your driver of the day for both races has been today?
I'm going to go for... I think in the end, I've just got to go for Blizzard just because of the consistency. He's not going to be leading the championship at the moment, but this is what you need to do in F2. It's not about being the fastest person. It's having a clean feature race, making sure you're not too far back for the start of the sprint race, and working your way up if you are further down the back of the reverse grid, so 5th to 8th, or holding on if you're in the front 4. Yeah,
absolutely. Consistency is key in Formula 2. If you have a bad feature race, you've got to make up for it in the sprint race. We saw almost all that from the likes of Legend and things like that as well. So that's one thing you've got to look out for this season. I think I'm probably going to give mine to Coutinho just based on how dominant that feature race win was in the end. He showed some great pace, and before the contact with Scuba at the end, he was on for a great recovery in the sprint race and maybe even a top 4 in that one, despite the early spin. So he gets my driver of the day today. Thank you, though, very much for joining me in the commentary box again, Luke. It's been obviously been great. Just tune into TTTV for the rest of the week. Tomorrow we've got Division 2 and Division 3 streams. Friday's Division 4 and Division 5. And then Saturday we've got a stream for CRC LMP3 coming into round 8, I believe, of the CRC LMP3 Championship. And tune in on Sunday, possibly as well at 8 PM. We may have a stream for IndyCar at the next round of the Championship. That's at Imola. That's round 8 of the season for CRC IndyCar on Sunday. But again, thank you, Luke, for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, everyone, for commenting on the stream. And we will see you this time next week. Thank you very much, and goodbye.